All right, all right. I think we're good to go ahead and start here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome on in. I'm not a professor, but you can call me Nap. And I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday today. We've made it halfway through the week. I know I've personally been having a pretty good week so far. Work has been very easy. Been doing just kind of a lot of repetitive stuff, which actually I like. I'm the type of person that if I can do the same thing, like a more menial repetitive task over and over again, I love that type of work because it makes the day for me personally go by so much faster. I get into a rhythm and a setup and I can just go, 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 go. Because that's what a lot of work, and that's kind of what a lot of museum work is at times. It's a lot of kind of repetitive tasks, sometimes when you're cataloging or inventorying or stuff like that. But sometimes you'll get curveballs when you find something weird or find something that doesn't make sense or find a mistake that needs to be fixed. All kinds of fun stuff like that. Yeah. Trying to think. It is still warming up, which is great. We did get a little bit of snow here with the most recent storm, but it was one of those situations where the snow came and then by the end of the next day it had mostly melted. We thankfully didn't get hit as hard as other parts of the East Coast have, up in New England and Boston and stuff. They're getting really hammered. They got really hammered with snow. And New York City too, I think, also got hit really bad. But thankfully we're all right down here, and I'm happy because I didn't need more snow. I'm at that point in winter where I'm over snow, and I want it to be spring, and I want it to get warmer, and I want the days to get longer. Which is why I'm happy that It's a double-edged sword. I'm happy that daylight savings time is coming up soon. When is that? The 8th, I think? Yeah, the 8th. The 8th is daylight savings time. But that's spring forward, so we lose an hour, unfortunately, that day. Which personally, I mean, yes, that does suck, but it makes me so happy that the days get longer after that, because God, that's the thing that honestly I mean, the cold is one thing, but the one thing I do hate the most about winter is the short days. The lack of sunlight, which personally, despite the fact of being a Twitch streamer and a PNG, I do actually like to go outside and touch grass. I really need to do that personally, otherwise it's oof. It just does not do good for my brain. Yeah. Oh, something else that I've been doing that I did the other day actually, that I was personally very proud of. I've been going through the past few months. I've been going back and playing games from my childhood that I had never beaten or gotten super far in. I did that recently with Burnout Revenge on the PlayStation 2. Because I love the Burnout series, one of my favorite game series of all time. And I had played Burnout Revenge a lot, some when I was a kid, but I never really got far in it. I mostly just played it when I had friends over and stuff like that, and we would race and crash into each other and stuff. But I played that and I had a really good time. I did find though it got very repetitive near the end because they don't have that many courses and maps, I feel compared to the other ones. So that made it a little kind of a bit of a grind near the end and very repetitive. But another game that I played, a game that I had played so much as a kid and played with my friends and my cousins a lot, was Lego Star Wars 2. I loved that game so much as a kid, and I did play it a lot. I played it a lot. I never 100%ed it. I had never 100%ed it before. And so that's what I gave myself the challenge to do. And I think I was on Monday. I did. On Monday night, I finally, after like having the game for almost 20 years, I finally 100%ed it. Um, which I was very happy with. And I only had to like, I will admit, I did look up some things, like just one or two small things that I genuinely like could not figure out and could not find. Um, but I was able to figure that out and figure out everything else, and I was able to 100% it, and I was very, very happy about that. It was great. Just like a great kind of like rush of like finally doing something that I had never done. I did that also recently with well, not super recently, with the PlayStation 2 game Jack and Dexter. Because that game I played a lot of the beginning levels, and I didn't like get that far into it because I've told this I've told the story on stream before, but so I'll just say like the quick version. Basically, the first 3 years I had a PlayStation 2. I had no idea how the memory cards work because one, I'm an only child, and when I had friends over to like play games, we would just play for a little bit, and then like that's it. They didn't like show me the save feature or anything like that. So for the first 3 years I had a PlayStation 2 from when I was 6 to when I was 9, I would just replay the beginning levels of all of my games over and over and over again, all the time. And Jack and Dexter was one of those. And then Jack and Dexter was also one of those games that when I got older, I sold it. I sold it at a Game Crazy, I remember, with a bunch of other PlayStation 2 games from my childhood. And then like a few years ago, I bought it again. I bought it back at a used game store. And then I finally played through the whole thing and 100%ed it. Which I was actually very, very happy with. Except the ending when you 100% it is such a tease and it sucks so much. I won't spoil it, I guess. I mean, it's like a 25-year-old game at this point, but still, like the ending when you 100% it and it says like, "Oh, this thing is going to be revealed." It sucks. It sucks so much, and I was so mad. So maybe don't 100% it because it's honestly not worth it unless you just want to like scratch that itch of being a completionist. Um, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Now I'm thinking what the next PlayStation 2 game I want to play. I might do one of the other Lego games because I do have Lego Star Wars, like the prequel trilogy one. That one I didn't play as much as a kid because honestly, like I was not as much of a fan of the prequels when I was a kid. I was more of a fan of the original trilogy. Um, and then, but I also have the Lego Indiana Jones game, so I'm tempted to do that one too. We'll see. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, one of those games I'll play. It's just a casual, just like when I have free time on the couch, kind of game. Speaking of games, we will likely be playing Stardew Valley this weekend. I don't know exactly what day or what time yet, but look out for another Stardew Valley stream, which I'm very excited for because I've been itching to play the game. It's been so hard to not like play the game when not streaming because I really love it and it's been really fun. It's just a fun casual game. Um, but yeah. So look out for that, and then I think we can go ahead and get started here. Let me just really quick make myself small here. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today, if you have not been to one of these streams yet, this is what we are doing today. I am currently trying to find everybody in this photo from 1888. This is a birthday party from 1888. I'm trying to find every single person in this photo. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is because on the back of the photo, this is the back of it. There is a list with corresponding numbers of every single person in the photo. And so far, we have researched the first 7. In fact, let me go ahead. Let's go ahead now and head on over to our classroom. Okay. So yes, this is a spreadsheet of everybody that we've researched so far, number 1 through 7. And last stream on Sunday, where we researched Eliza Furman, was absolutely insane. Like, I'm going to be honest, I was nervous when I started this project that by the time we got like 8 or 9 people in, that like it was going to start to get repetitive and there wasn't going to be that much like interesting stuff or anything like that with this photo. Because you never know with this type of stuff. And I thought, okay, you know, I just hope that there's at least maybe like 1 or 2 interesting people in this thing. And what's crazy is that we've had so far so many, like, I thought we already peaked. I thought we already peaked with Marion here. Because, you know, she was married to a gold medal Olympic sprinter who competed in the 1900 Paris Olympics and won 2 gold medals in sprinting, which is, I thought that was going to be like the peak of like the craziest stuff that we found, you know, with this. But then came in Eliza Furman. So if you weren't here, first of all, I highly recommend you go check out the VOD. It was an absolutely insane stream. But to give you the quick rundown, basically, we first discovered quickly that Eliza unfortunately only lived to be 15 years old. And honestly, when I first saw that, I was like, okay, there's not much, you know, to go off of here. There's not going to be much in the historic record. It might be a shorter stream because there's not going to be that much, you know, when that happens. Or maybe I would like research her parents because sometimes that, you know, is what you do. But then we found her obituary. And her obituary stated that she was adopted. Furman was not her birth last name. And instead, we discovered that her birth father's name, was Robert Barclay. And that her mother, Adelaide, passed away when Eliza was about 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe something happened to Robert too, and that's why she was adopted. No, we then discovered that she was, while she was adopted, her father was still alive. And then I thought, okay, well, it's not super uncommon that like if somebody's partner or spouse passes away, sometimes they do have to give up their children for adoption because, you know, they can't financially afford to take care of them. But then we discovered that Robert, not only did he work for the railroad, which maybe, okay, he was away a lot, you know, maybe from working on like railroad or other projects throughout in the area. And he couldn't take care of the kids. But he also was the owner of a shoe store in the town. So he wasn't like strapped for money. He had money to buy a business and to own not like he wasn't like a manager there. No, he like owned it and then had other people run it for him. He had money. And then we discovered that Eliza, when she died at 15, she was originally buried in the Barclay kind of a cemetery where her birth family was buried. But then a year after she died, Eliza was moved actually. Her grave was moved. They moved her body to be with the Furman family. So she was buried currently with her adopted family. And that, to me, speaks volumes about her relationship with them. The fact that she um was so, I guess, like full on adopted by the family to where she is buried with them and not her birth family when her father was still alive and could have fought that. I think that speaks volumes, because I could not find any evidence that he fought that or anything like that. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But that was crazy. And then we discovered a few other things. One, and again, one of the crazy ones was that when she was 2 years old, before her mother died, Eliza was almost hit by a train. She was playing on the railroad tracks at like 2 years old, and one of the brakemen on the train like saved her from being run over by it. Like craziness. Then we discovered that Robert had other children other than Eliza. Eliza was not his only kid. He had a son named Seward, who unfortunately passed away before, I think right even before Eliza was born. And it said sadly that he died by burning. That's all it says. It's just burning, which is just a horrible, horrible, situation to think about. And then we discovered that Ruth had an older brother named Charles, and that Charles was adopted by a different family. But that family, he did not take their last name, and on the census record that we found for them, he is listed as Border. Not son, not adopted son, or anything like that. Border. It really went to show that, the difference in how the family that you went to made the biggest difference. And those are the only siblings that we know about. There could have been more, but unfortunately, Barclay is a semi-common name, and I couldn't find anything else about Charles, except that that he was in a horrible mill accident where he broke his leg, broke both his legs and his rib, and apparently, according to a later article, his hand was severed off. He lost his hand. And he was about, I think, 18, I think, when that happened, roughly, we discovered. And what was also crazy was that his father, Robert Barclay, when he died, his obituary says almost nothing about his kids. It just says that he had several, and one died young, and one got in that mill accident where he lost his hand. That's it. No specific names mentioned or anything like that, which I think, again, speaks volumes about his relationships with them. This family was insane and had some Final Destination level bad luck, because all of Robert's kids either died young or were in accidents and disfigured and stuff like that, in Charles's case. And again, that's only the kids that I know about. Unfortunately, we don't have, again, the most helpful census in this situation would be the 1890 census. But unfortunately, we don't have that. Oh, and we also, again, another thing that shows that he probably didn't care about his kids is that a few years later, he puts out an article in the newspaper, basically a personal ad, talking about hey, I'm a bachelor, I'm looking for a woman to date me. As far as we discovered, he never remarried. But he wanted to. Guess he couldn't find the one. But that was the last stream. And yeah, like that was a very quick rundown version of it, and it was just absolutely insane. So I highly recommend checking out the VOD if you haven't checked it out already. But today we are moving on to number 8 here in the photo. Who, according to this, is Ruth Holiday. Hold on, let me pull up. Just want to pull up one thing real quick. Yeah, so number 8 you see there above me. All right, so yeah, so that's the face of number 8 right there. So Ruth Hodley. Hodley? Not entirely sure exactly how to pronounce it, but we'll figure it out. That's who we're going to be researching today. That you can see pictured above me. I do remember it was a little weird trying to find them, because the spelling on the back of the card or back of the photograph was a little weird. In fact, yeah, number 8 there, Ruth. I couldn't tell if it was an double O DLY, but apparently it is an OA from when we did our preliminary search. All right. So, I think, hold on 1 second. I actually need to check something real quick before. So ignore that. Pay no attention to the peanut behind the curtain. I just need to fix something real quick. Okay. There we go. All right. There. All right. The illusion's still up. All right. So, all right. Let's just go ahead and let's go for it. So, Ruth Audley. And we'll put Wyoming County, Pennsylvania. And let's just see if we find the thing that we've already found before. Okay, here we go. We do have a census record here right off the bat. And a few other things. Not much, though, which, again, is never a great sign. So let's look at this census record. Okay, so this is from the 1880 census. And we got a few family members here. So Jenny and Lizzie Hodley had siblings Willie, Sarah, and May. In this one, she's only like 3 months old. So, oh no, wait. Lizzie is a daughter. That's her mother. She's widowed. When did... Oh, wow. Okay. That means Ruth's father must have passed away right before, like, I mean, in between the time either while she was pregnant or right after Ruth was born. What is this? Oh, birth month. February. So February of 1880, according to this. She's working... Yeah, she's just at home. And this is Taconic. Does it say where? Putman Street. But it doesn't sell specifically like the house number or anything. Okay. Okay, so this gives us a decent amount of information right off the bat. So Ruth likely never knew her father. Just like Lizzie or Eliza, just like Eliza never knew her mother. This one even more so though, because at least I think Eliza was like 2 when her mother passed away. Ruth's only 3 months old. Okay. There's only a few things listed here. Which, you know, again, makes me nervous that something is going on here. We have history books and we have newspaper articles. I think these history books... Let's see, does it say... Chosen born Tacanic. John Fletcher Hodley. Resident Tacanic, married December 1965. Okay, that's not Thomas. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Lizzie. 1867. Okay, I don't know when this book is from. Hold on, okay, wait. Thomas Ide Hodley was born 6th of April, 1839 in Canaan, Pennsylvania. Died 18th October, 1879 in Leadville, COL. Wait, Colorado? Wait, so he died in October. Okay, yeah, he died when. Okay, he died when Melissa, or sorry, when Ruth was, yeah, when she was pregnant, when Jenny was pregnant with her. Jenny Mitchell, daughter of Alicia and Elizabeth Sweetland Mitchell, born 4th September 1848 in Tacanic, resides in Titanic. Thomas Ide was a stonemason by trade. He was engaged in drilling for silver at Leadville at the time of his death. Okay, because when I saw Colorado here, and it's 1870, I was like, was he in mining? Because that's the only reason why I could think that he, like a father, would be that far away from his family in somewhere like Colorado at this time. In Leadville. At the time of his death. What happened? Okay. So that's that. I think these are both the same. This and this. I think this is just the same thing, just... Wait, or is it this one that I didn't click on before? Yeah, I think this is just a different copy of the same... Yeah, this is just a different copy of the same thing. Okay. Okay, so that does give us some background information on what happened. Wow, okay, so... It makes you wonder... I don't know how long he was in Leadville for. Maybe we can find that out when we start looking at, like, newspapers and stuff. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put a thing. Hold on. Before we continue, I forgot to put something in the chat. There we go. So if anybody joins, they know they can ask questions. Because we like questions here. Now I can just yap about what we're doing here. Okay. Now again, the fact that those are the only things we have for Ruth, I'm not confident that something great is going on here. Let's go back here. Well, actually, wait, hold on. Okay, we can edit this. Birth year 1880. Okay. Okay, there are all these city directories. Well, hold on. Let me look at Jenny or Jeannie real quick. Because if she has a big... Okay, yeah. Let's look at 1900. She's still in Titanic. Okay. This is not a good sign. By 1900, Sarah and May are still living with her. But that's it. Oh, and wow. So, okay, so Sarah's a stenographer. Milliner. I've heard that phrase before, but I can't remember. Hold on. Milliner, a person who makes it or sells women's hats. Okay. She's like a specifically for like women's hat. I guess it's different than like a haberdashery, I guess. Huh. Interesting. Okay, but again, the fact that Ruth isn't on here. Uh-oh. Yeah, wait. Mother of how many children? 5. Number of children living? 4. That is also not a good sign. Because, yeah, she has 5 children here. And Willie and Lizzie by this point would have moved away. This is making me think that unfortunately she might have died young. Let's look real quick at this. Wait. Her death isn't listed here. But... Wow. Oh, wait. Okay. Wow. All of her siblings lived, like... to be, like, 60... like, over 60 years old. Jeez. Mary lived to be 90. So wait, so then... Yeah, look at that. Death unknown. But she had to... Okay. Unfortunately, we have to make the conclusion, because they know the deaths of all the other kids, and they're all in like the 30s and later. That means that between 1880 and 1900, Ruth passes away. Or no, between 1888. Yeah, between 1888. Okay, can we find her though? Hold on. I remember if her actually wasn't there. Okay, I know that's the wrong Ruth. I have a feeling that possibly her, if she was buried, her grave might have been lost. Okay, and this says here, born February 23rd, 1880. So, okay. Hold on, let me pull up real quick one of our favorite websites. Let me pull up Find a Grave real quick. All right. Here we go. So, Ruth Hodley, 1880. I'll just put Pennsylvania, just in case she's possibly buried somewhere else. Wow. Okay, let's try her mother. Her mother's real name, it wasn't Jenny. It was Mary. Mary Hodley. Born 1843 to 1932. 1843, 1930. It was 1932, right? Yeah. Okay. Here she is. Yeah, she's buried in Sunnyside. But only 4 of her children. What about Thomas? Oh my god, Thomas isn't even buried with them. Thomas is buried in Colorado. Oh man. They didn't even get to have like a funeral or anything. What does it say on his thing? FLT T.I. Hodley of Taconic, Pennsylvania. Top of headstone info. Independent Order of Oddfellows, also known as the Three-Link Fraternity, which stands for friendship, love, and truth. Okay, so he's an odd fellow. That's what that symbol is. Wow, okay. Are all of her kids, like, buried with her? Yeah, there's, like, a Hodley section. That like Sarah, yeah, Sarah's there. May is there. Wow. This is crazy. I think this is like, even by like normal standards, this is like very little information that we're getting. Yeah, just wife of Thomas Hawk. The fact that, yeah, that she's not even listed here means I think that her grave, unfortunately, was possibly lost. Which I think this means we have to go to newspapers. Oh, I got the quotes. So let's do Ruth. Let's do 1880 to 1890. Let's do specifically Wyoming County, Pennsylvania. Just see if there's anything. Nothing. Okay, let's try 1890 to, I guess, 1900. Okay, now we get a lot. Okay, hold on. Sort oldest first. So let's go in chronology. Okay, so by 1891, she's showing up. Hello, Flora. Good to see you. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a good evening. We are currently trying to figure out the person above me. That is Ruth Hodley. Yes, hello there. Ruth, unfortunately, I think she has been, it's going to be a similar situation, I think, unfortunately, to Sunday's stream. I'm doing good. I've had a very repetitive work week, doing a lot of the same thing over and over again, but I actually kind of like that because it means it makes the day go by faster, personally, for me. But we do have, the only thing we have for Ruth is this census record from 1880, when she's only 3 months old. And then in the 1900 census, she is unfortunately, gone. And right here, under her mother's name, she said, it says here, right here, it has mother of how many children? 5. But then number of children living, 4. So unfortunately, and we know that we found this where it's Ruth Holiday listed here on Ancestry. It says death unknown. And then all of her other siblings are listed here as being dead after 1900. So from the looks of it, she unfortunately passed away sometime between 1888 and 1900, which means she unfortunately died probably before she was 20. And what was also crazy that we uncovered was that she never knew her father. Because in this, here, 3 months old, here, we're in the census service, says she's 3 months old, the head of household is her mother. And under her mother, it specifically says right here that she is widowed. And then we found here this family history book that talks about her father, whose name apparently was Thomas Ide Hoadley, died 18th of October 1879 in Leadville, Colorado. Thomas I. Hoadley was a stonemason by trade. He was engaged in drilling for silver at Leadville at the time of his death. So Ruth never knew her father, and he died working in, I guess working for trying to get silver out all the way in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. And we also discovered that he's buried there still. They unfortunately never even got his body back. He's buried in Colorado. Also, what's crazy is that we don't have a grave for Ruth. We have graves for all of her siblings and her parents, but not for Ruth. This is her mother's grave. So I'm just trying to figure out what happened to her at this point. Hey, Aeon, good to see ya. Yeah, you caught us in the middle of trying to figure out what happened to Ruth. Because there's a lot of mystery around her. Because with the last one, when we did Eliza, which was just Eliza was a damn roller coaster of just all kinds of stuff. All kinds of crazy stuff. At least we were able to find her quickly and figure out a lot of stuff about her. But with Ruth, there's surprisingly not that much, but we are about to get into newspaper records, because that's really all we can do at this point, because there's nothing else on Ancestry for her. Just the one census record from when she was a baby, when she was not even a year old, and a family history that talks about her siblings but doesn't give much information specifically about her. Yeah, that roller coaster on Sunday was insane. But we'll see. We'll see if anything happens with this. All right, so let's start with this first one. So we do have a decent amount of newspaper records here, 24, for this 10-year period between 1890 and 1900. And we know she dies at some point in between here. We just don't know when. So let's see if we can figure it out. See what this first one is. Oh my god, wait, hold on. The following is the program of entertainment to the benefit of the Presbyterian Church to be given at the Opera House this evening by the YPSCE at that church. Wow, okay, so right here we have Ruth listed here, but I'm seeing so many other people from this photo too. We're just right off the bat, Grace Dalrymple, which I'm still not entirely sure how to pronounce that. Then we have, with Ruth, we have Grace again, and Amy Brown, who we researched before. And Helen Lewis is here too. And Leslie Chase. Leslie Chase is also in the... Wow, so wait, hold on. Anybody else that I recognize? Addie Brown. Daisy Childs. Nellie Little. Mime Shook. Okay, no, I think that's it. So, wow, okay, so in this one article, we have... Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's it. Yeah, 5. So 5 people in this article are from are in this photo. I guess it just shows how, um sorry, hold on. I just had to look at something real quick. Sorry. So again, yeah, so it shows how they're all connected in various ways, that they were doing stuff together. And this is 3 years after this photo was taken. This is in 1891. Okay. And I think we saw this thing looks familiar. I think we saw this newspaper article when we were researching Amy Brown, because her name's right here. Okay. Oh, yes. Hello, Aeon. Sorry, I thought I had said hi earlier, but if you didn't hear it, I'm sorry. Or if I didn't, I'm sorry. I thought I... hope I didn't miss that. Okay, so that's that. Oh, yeah, this is the same article. Yeah, I do remember. Okay, we did see this one already. Yeah, this is the same article, but just like a different format. And I like this format more. So we're going to keep that one. Okay, so then we jump forward a few years to 1893. Okay, the Junior Christian Society of the Presbyterian Church held an election of officers on Tuesday evening, and the following officers were elected: President Charles Kiefer, Vice President Miss Bessie Lighton, Secretary Miss Ruth Hodley, Treasurer Harry Kittenridge. Okay, Bessie Lighton is also in the photograph. So I think a lot of people... I'm starting to think that, like, a lot of people... were related, like they knew each other through the church, through Presbyterian Church. Hey, thank you for lurking, Flora. Hope you enjoy your lurking. May your sleuthing be fruitful. I hope so. I really, really hope so. Yeah. We'll see how this goes. Because there's not a ton. But there's, at least in terms of outside of newspaper articles, there's at least some here. Okay. Let's see what this next one is. This is that same year, 1893. A convention of junior Christian endeavor for this district was held at Ashley on Saturday. The junior society of this place was represented by Master Fred Shook and Mrs. Ruth Hodley. Mrs. Mame Shook and Rena Van Meter went with the children from here. The other members of the junior society present were Miss Mabel Luzis, Guthrie Thompson, and Bessie Lighton. Okay, so Mabel and Bessie are also in the photo. And Fred Shook was friends. We saw him. He was the best man and really good friends with Harry Lewis, that we found before. Okay. This next one's about a year later. Miss Ruth Hodley has been visiting at Reverend J.H. Brown's East Stroudsburg during the past week. Oh my god, that's Amy and That's Amy and oh my god, what's her? Edna's. That's Amy and Edna's father. So she was visiting them because yeah, I don't think they were living in. Yeah, they weren't living there yet. They weren't living in Tacanic anymore. I think at this point. I think by 1894 they had moved away. Wow. Okay. Okay, this next one is 1896. Oh, whoa, what is this? So she was very involved with the church, from the looks of it here. Last Friday, the day set apart by the Christian church in commemoration of the ascension of the risen Lord, was fitly observed. Oh, these are all the different churches? Hold on. Is this, it's talking about, like, the Knights Templar? This is talking about the Knights Templar. This year, Temple Commandery were the hosts. At 7 o'clock, Temple Commandery, accompanied by their band, marched to the station where the westbound train brought the visiting knights and their ladies. The vanguard was composed of 3 post commanders: Major Frank Penman, Coeur de Loin of Scranton, Fred W. Tyrrell of Wilkes-Barre, and Frank H. Piatt of Tacanic. Next came the hand, followed by a large delegation of Sir Knights of Dieuleveux Commandery, Valley Commandery of Pittston, with a good representations of knights, came next. The Temple Commandery bringing up the rear. The line of march was up Warren to Tioga Street, down Tioga Street to Bridge, up Bridge to Church Street, up Church to Marion Streets to Putnam, then out Putnam to Presbyterian Church. The knights filed in, occupying the center of the church, and the appropriate and beautiful service arranged for the occasion was participated in by the audience. The reciting of the Apostles' Creed by the whole body of knights with swords at the present was a very impressive sight. The singing of the Presbyterian choir was especially fine. The address of Reverend Dr. Webster Cox, D.D. of Alden, Pennsylvania, was an able one and held the attention of the large audience from the beginning. It was a carefully prepared history of Knights Templarism, giving the objects and aims of its founders away back in the time of the Crusades, showing that it was essentially a Christian order, and the number of knights, over 100,000, showed that there was something vital in its principles. Dr. Cox is a most interesting and forcible speaker, and the address was thoroughly enjoyed. The ladies of the church had been busy during the day, and at the close of the service, the Sir Knights were invited to inspect the well-laden tables in the dining rooms connected with the church. There, the knights spent a happy hour, their wants attended to by Miss Lillian Childs, Miss Lizzie Kiefer, Miss Helen Northrup, Miss Ruth Hodley, Miss Agnes Graham Reynolds, Miss Carrie Graham, Miss Ella Lowe, and almost as many young married women who were almost as busy as the young ladies. Okay, so they basically were just helping out. She was helping out with this event, is what it's saying. Again, showing how she was involved with the church. Yeah, so there's some stuff here, but it's nothing crazy yet. Just mostly just like visiting, normal stuff, taking part in church activities. Miss Ruth Hodley is visiting her sister, Miss S.S. Breeze, in Wilkes-Barre. Okay, so that's one of her sisters. Because I don't think there's not another Hodley in the photo, right? She's the only one. She's the only one. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So let's go back and see what the next thing is. All right. Professor and Mrs. O.J. Morlock, Miss Mary Mitchell, Miss Ruth Hodley, Miss Ellen Orr, Miss Grace Carrington, Miss Emma Sickler, Mitchell Osterhout, James Height, Percy Stark, and Archibald Betts accompanied the high school football team to Factoryville on Saturday last. Yeah, she would be in high school. She's 16. She's 16 in this one. Oh, okay, this looks like another... Okay, yeah, this is her high school. Professor Morlock, as principal of the Tacanic High School, has already become one of the most popular educators of which the school has ever had, although he has been in charge only a short 3 months. His methods for conducting the school are very taking, both with the parents and scholars. His latest step forward is in the direction of raising the standard of elocution, and is a most commendable one. It creates a great interest among the scholars, and the result will be that in future the graduates will not be called upon to make their first efforts in that direction before a large audience at the commencement exercises, as they have been forced to do it in times past. The first speaking contest was conducted in the high school room on Monday afternoon and was participated in by members of the B class as follows: M. Avery, Eve Before Waterloo, Ruth Hodley, Caleb's Cantaloupe. Archie Betts, The Boys. Interesting TV show. Didn't think he'd be reading it in 1896. I just don't see if there's anybody other names are here. So Thomas Boyce, Mabel Harding, Louis Schaff, Mame Little, Myrtle Vose, Christopher Callahan, Henry Flummerfelt. The contest was for excellence. The 3 best speakers to appear in public contest at some future time. The judges were Reverend S.C. Hodge, School Director, S. Judson Stark, and County County Superintendent H.F. Jarvis, whose decisions were as follows: Ruth Hodley, Harry Flummerfelt, and Mame Little. The judges also made an honorable mention of Mabel Harding. Well, she's going to be one of the speakers. The 3 best speakers to appear in public contest at some future time. Wow, so she was in the top 3. What is elocution? I haven't... That word sounds familiar, but I don't know what that is. Hold on. The skill of clear and expressive speech. Okay, yeah, so it's just public speaking, basically. Being a good speaker. I wonder what Caleb's Cantaloupe is. Hold on. Caleb's Cantaloupe. I'm just getting things about like cantaloupe seeds. I don't see anything in here. It could be an original story. It could be an original story, and maybe that's why it's not coming up. Because nothing comes up when you search Caleb's cantaloupe. Just a bunch of ads for cantaloupe seeds. Also, they spelled cantaloupe. I mean, or it's spelled differently today than it is back then. Because this isn't today's spelling. There's a U after the U. Hey, Coco, good to see ya. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. To give you just a really quick, brief rundown of what we're doing. I'm currently trying to research everybody in this photo from 1888. There's 24 people in total, and we have all of their names on the back of the photo right here. And so far, we're currently researching number 8 in this photograph, which you see pictured above me, Ruth Hodley. Unfortunately, though, it looks like, based on the fact that she's only in one census record in 1880 and is missing from her family's census in 1900, she likely died some point between 1890 and 1900. And that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out when she died by looking at newspaper records. So let's go ahead. What's this one? Is this the same thing? Okay, wait, hold on. At the high school on Friday of last week, the third and last of the preliminary contests took place, in which all members of the D class participated. The judges, after much deliberation, chose the following: Nellie Billings, James Height, Miss Rose Gregory. Honorable mention to Miss Mabel Lewis. The program was as follows. Okay, I'm just gonna look at names just to see if I recognize any. Let's see, no. Oh, Blanche Dietrich. Yeah, Blanche Dietrich. That's somebody else in the photo too. That's number 13, right there. I think that's like the first thing we've seen with her in one of these. But yeah, she's right here. She read fairy tale. Well, that's not specific enough. What kind of fairy tale? I want to know. Bill Mason's. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Miss Mabel Lewis. Dark Forest of Sorrow. Damn. Sounds like a heavy one. Rose Gregory. The judges were. Oh wait, hold on. The judges were County Superintendent Jarvis S. Judson Stark, Robert Little, ushers, Miss blah, blah, blah. This closes the preliminary contestants and leaves the following to compete in a public entertainment to be given in Piatt's Opera House the latter part of January. Oh, wait. Oh. Okay, hold on. I misread that. So this was a different preliminary. So the thing that she was in here, this was a preliminary. This was her preliminary, and she won that. This was a different preliminary. And so now she's competing with all these other... Hold on, wait. Any other names? Oh, yeah. Okay, here. Bessie Lighton. Yeah, Bessie Lighton. Nellie Billings, James Height, Rose Gregory. After the contest, the members of the high school presented their teachers with handsome presents. Okay. Okay. So I think this is the same. I think this is the same. The speaking contest of the D class, which took place at the high school room on Friday last week, resulted in the following. This competes the preliminary contests. Okay, yeah, so this is just kind of like a smaller version of the article we just read. Oh, and this is January. It said in the end of January. So let's see. Let's see how she did. Okay. The chicken supper and entertainment, which was given on Friday night last, was a great success, there having been added to the treasury of the church some $40-odd. The supper was excellent, and entertainment one of the best ever given here. Miss Charles Graham, who superintended the entertainment, was shown herself the most efficient in matters of this kind, and is to be congratulated upon very remarkably upon the very success of the family album. The pictures were all good, and Miss Ruth Hodley as Miss Almira Pease did admirably. That the efforts of the ladies were much appreciated was shown by the very large attendance. Okay, so this is a performance. She was performing. Okay, so this isn't the this isn't the competition. Oh, do they not have it? But I want to know. Because they said end of January, I'm pretty sure. Oh, wait, is this it? Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, I think this is it. I think it was... Okay, maybe I misread it. Maybe it was end of February and not end of January. Okay, let's see. The upper classes of the high school have been undergoing training in elocution for some time past, and there has been a preliminary contest in each class to determine on the 3 best, the 9 so selected to compete for prizes. Those selected were... Okay, and this is her, yeah, Miss Ruth, and this is everybody. So, okay, so this is it. Okay, let's see if she won. Okay, so last Monday evening, a competitive exhibition was given in the Opera House, and despite the heavy rain, there was a good attendance. The stage was tastefully decorated with the class colors and a portrait of Washington draped with the American flag. This entertainment was in lieu of the regular commencement exercises, as there will be no class graduated from the school this year, owing to regarding and advancement of the standard of the school. The young people all acquitted themselves admirably, exhibiting excellent training and showing an intelligent appreciation of their parts. A comparative criticism of their merits would be invidious, where all did so well, but the judges, who had to decide in some way, concluded that Miss Ruth Holiday was entitled the first prize. She won! Look at that! She got first place in this competition. Miss Nellie Billings second, and made special honorable mention of Bessie Lighton. And Bessie Lighton is also, again, in the photo. So 2 people in this photo are like winners in this competition. I mean, Bessie wasn't really... She was an honorable mention, but still, considering, like, what? There were, like, a couple dozen people? Look at that. First prize. A vote of the audience, of course, might not have sustained their estimate of the comparative merits of the participants, for each had their particular friends. But the general opinion seemed to be that honors were about even between them. Professor and Mrs. Morlock, who had the training of the competitors in charge, are entitled to much credit for the success of the occasion. The judges were B.W. Lewis. That's Okay, yeah, that's the attorney. Reverend S.W. Weiss and S. Judson Stark. It is crazy how like much name overlap we get in this newspaper. There are so many times where it's like I recognize it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV. Like that's how I feel every time I see a different name that I recognize now in these newspapers or somewhere else. Okay. Wow, she won. That's awesome. I think this is going to be the same thing, but maybe a little bit more detail or a little. Okay, yeah, this is going into a bit more detail about it. So let's go back. Let's go down to like where they start talking about. Yeah, the first recitation was by James Height, entitled "How It Struck Jim." Miss Gregory came next with "Trouble in the Amen Corner." Miss Ruth Holliday gave Aunt Melissa on "Boys." Henry Flummerfelt, Tussian Levorture. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. I probably did. Toussaint Louvour, Louvorture. That's the. I'm pretty sure that's like the first, like the leader of like Haiti during like the Haitian Revolution. I think, if I remember correctly. Miss Ruth Pyatt, painter of Seville. Miss Mary Little, Jack and Gill. Miss Nellie Billings, Friar Phillips, Lynn Drake, The Doom of Claudius and Cynthia, and Bessie Lighton, The Boat Race. Had a vote of the audience been taken as to which one was entitled to the prize, the vote would certainly have been a tie all around, for the expression was general that each one spoke remarkably well, and each seemed equally entitled to recognition. But three judges, B.W. Lewis Esquire, Reverend S.W. Weiss, and S. Judson Stark, had been chosen, and it was their duty to study every point much more closely than any one of the audience cared to, and their decision was rendered at the close of the speaking as follows: with Miss Ruth Hodley first, Miss Nellie Billings second, with special honorary mention to Miss Bessie Lighton. Much credit is due both Professor Morlock and Professor Kepperly for the proficient manner in which they trained the pupils for the contest, which we understand will be followed by at least one other, all in good time. That's awesome that she won this. That's really cool that she won this. Okay, this is in. Oh, hold on. Back there, real quick. This is March. The New England supper, which was given at the Presbyterian Church on Friday last night, was, as is usual with anything undertaken by the ladies of that church, a great success. The supper consisted of good old-fashioned things which have made New England famous, as well, and was well attended. The entertainment, which followed, was more than usual interesting. Oh God, I can't say that word. Recitations were given by Miss Ruth Holliday and Miss Bessie Lighton, of a high order and well rendered. I just want to say that. Okay, yeah. So Bessie Lighton again. I think they were pretty decently close if they're doing all this stuff together, or they were like competitors. They either were. I feel like that's like the different ways this could go. They were either really good friends, or they were like very, very, very competitive. That's like the only way I can see this going. Can't see it going like really in between. I just want to check and I see if I see any other names. The Avery, no. Reba Kit Reg, Ray Hayden, Okay. Okay, April 1897. The speaking contest at the high school Friday was between members of the B class, and the young ladies and gentlemen were ranked first and second as follows: Ruth Hodley, Mame Little, Henry Flummerfelt, Victor Avery. The final contest will take place at the close of the school term. Whether she won again, because it says we're ranked first and second as follows. So 2 women and then 2 men. So yeah, she got first again. She was a great speaker. She was a great speaker. Okay, okay. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is her winning it or getting. Okay, the third and last of the preliminary contests in the high school took place last Friday, in which the pupils of the D class were contestants. The judges were James E. Freer, Ernest V. Little, Reverend S.W. Weiss. Mr. Weiss being substituted for Victor Lyman, who was unable to be in attendance. The speakers chosen for this class were James Height, Patrick Boyce, Mabel Lewis, yeah, and Nellie Billings. All contestants acquitted themselves with credit. The interest shown by the patrons of the school in these contests has been very noticeable. The final contest will be held June 9th. Those taking part in the final contest will be Miss Ruth Hodley and Mame Little and Misters Henry Flutterman and Victor Avery, a B class, a C class, Miss Ruth Pyatt and Bessie Lighton. Ooh, yeah, it's a rematch. And Misters Lynn Drake and Charles Jones. D class will be those above. The final contest will be in the Pyatt Opera House. I wonder if that. Hold on. Does that still exist? But no, I keep getting things for the Pratt Opera House, which is not what I want. Let me look up. Yeah, Titanic, PA. See anything specific for the Opera House? Yeah. Yeah, I can't find. I don't see anything. I see something for like Piat. There's a house. But that's it. Yeah, that's it. Oh well. All right. Let's see then if the next thing is her win. Oh, here we go. Yeah, June 11th. Okay, so this is likely the results. Let's see if she won again. Okay. The closing school exercises at the Opera House Wednesday evening were very interesting. In the absence of a graduating class this year caused by regrading the high school, it was decided to have a speaking contest and music to take the place of the usual commencement exercises. The program was arranged as follows: music, Brutus, Apology, Lindsay Drake, The Polish Boy, Miss Ruth Hodley, I'm Going Home Today, Charles Jones, Violin Solo, Ruth Pyatt, Mame Little, James Hyatt, Mabel Lewis, Nellie Billings, Henry, Legend of the Beautiful, as Elizabeth Lighton, music. The young ladies and gentlemen conducted their several parts of the program in the most credible manner, and the music was well rendered. The house was well filled. Yeah, it does sound like nice music, but I'm realizing this isn't it. This is a different thing. She's not like on like a different part, because sometimes if she's like on a different part of the page, it won't show up here. No. Because it did say, hold on. Third to last preliminary. Judges were interest in the school. Final comments will be held June 9th. Yeah. So wait, yeah, so it should... You would think it would show up, but it doesn't. Because that's not it. This is just talking about music. Like a different thing. Maybe it wasn't a competition. No, it is. It says it's a contest. Yeah, there's nothing here because it ends here. The house was well filled. Let me just double check, make sure. Yeah, there's nothing. Huh? Maybe it wasn't a competition then? I guess not. Huh. Okay, so 1897 is October. Honorable and Mrs. A.M. something on Tuesday afternoon gave the most delightful little party in honor of the third birthday of Myron Easterman Orr. They were present the Mrs. Eleanor Grenville. Okay, so she's attending a birthday party. Again, I just want to see what other names you recognize here. I don't recognize anybody yet. Wait, hold on, no, wait, this is a different thing. Mrs. Thompson, or Mrs. Thomas B. Grenville, Mrs. Augusta Sickler, and Miss Ruth Hodley assisted Mrs. Eastman in entertaining the wee lads and lassies, and the jolly good time was the consequence. Okay. This is interesting because it almost sounds like a similar situation to like the birthday party here, because it says, shortly after they all assembled, photographer A.P. Miller arrived on the scene with his camera and a picture of the entire party taken, tots wearing the paper caps which they had been given to them as favors. I wonder if that picture exists somewhere. It might. It might exist somewhere. But she wasn't necessarily attending the party, she was helping out with entertainment. Okay, this is 1898. Okay, February 14th, 1898, Miss Ruth Hodley gave a Valentine party to a number of her young friends Monday evening. Okay. That's sweet. Oh wait, what's this? Is this it? Oh yeah. This is it. Oh man. Miss Ruth Hodley, aged 18 years, died at the home of her mother, Mrs. Jenny Hodley, on Putnam Street, this place, Thursday morning at 7 o'clock of blood poisoning. The funeral services will be held at the Presbyterian Church Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Reverend S.C. Hodge, pastor, officiating. Internment in Sunnyside Cemetery. It says, okay, so she was apparently buried there, but I think unfortunately her grave has been lost. Man. Blood poisoning, yeah. So it was like she got an infection. She got an infection basically. Some sort of injury or something. Because I mean, back then it's 1898. I think germ theory was like. When did germ theory? Hold on. When did germ theory become a thing? Germ theory. Yeah, viruses weren't discovered until the 1890s. Yeah, so this is around the change of. This is around when like germ theory was starting to take off and become more common, but still, so it's like it's likely that yeah, she likely just like had a very simple, possibly it could have been anything from like a splinter to or a paper cut, you know. And if it wasn't cleaned, they didn't clean it because they didn't really, know that was a thing. But again, this does prove that she was buried at the same cemetery as the rest of her family. But it looks like her grave has unfortunately been lost, which is sad. Okay. This looks like the same thing. Okay, this one's a little bit longer, so maybe it gives us a little bit more about her. Here we go. The death of Miss Ruth Hodley occurred at her home in this place on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Deceased was the daughter of Mrs. Jenny Hodley and was born in this place on February 23, 1880, and was therefore 18 years and 1 month of age. Her death was caused by blood poisoning, the final result of an ulceration following operation on a tooth, which was removed last October. Oh, gang, it was. Oh, that sucks. She had suffered from this trouble the greater part of the winter, but was not confined to bed until about 2 weeks before her death. She was a girl of amiable temper and Christian character, and was very popular with the young people of this place. Funeral services will be held at the house on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, with interment in Sunnyside Cemetery. She is survived by her mother, 3 sisters, and 1 brother. Yeah, that does sound terrible to have, like, basically, yeah, a tooth infection. She had a tooth removed, which is very common because that was what, they didn't really do cavities back then. They would just pull the tooth out. Which, God, going to the dentist in, like, pre-1950 just sounds awful. It just sounds so bad in so many ways. Because I will say, like, as much as I do love history, I don't necessarily. I would love to have a time machine to go back and see it. I don't want to live it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like that's most history buffs or historians that are like they are like truly like, I don't want to live in the past. I just want to like see it or observe it and like bask in it, but like I don't want to be stuck there and live with it. Because God, I don't want to live in a world where this is a possible. Dentist visits can be helpful or hurtful. Oh yeah, especially back then. Any operation during this time, it's like, yes, it could be helpful, but like if it wasn't properly cleaned or taken care of, it would just lead to terrible things. To be a time travel ghost, yes. Oh, that's the dream, honestly. That is the dream. To be able to just observe. The way that I've always like pictured it in my head is like the pensive in Harry Potter. If you've seen Harry Potter, where they go into memories and they just witness it. They can't interact. They can't impede anything. You would feel kind of helpless, though. Yeah, that would be a tough thing. Yeah, it would. If you see something that is terrible, you wouldn't be able to help. But I don't know. I feel like you would kind of like go in with that expectation. At least I would. I would kind of go in with that mindset of like, I know I can only observe. I can't interact. And then I'd see how it affects me mentally later. Like the Watcher from Marvel. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's another good comparison. Endless trolley problems, but no way to do anything. Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't even think it's. I guess, yeah, it is technically trolley problem because it's like but you can't do anything. It's like trolley problem, but your hands are tied behind your back. So it's like if you could pull the lever, even if you wanted to pull the lever, you can't. So I feel like that would kind of, I don't know. Yeah, that would be interesting. But no, I would love to be able to. I mean, like, I was an archaeology major. I'm obsessed with like seeing the past and understanding the past. So, and just seeing what it looked like. So being able to see it, like time travel, I would absolutely volunteer instantly. If they were like testing it out, I'd be like, "Yep, I want to try it. Please, let me try. I want to see the past. I don't care about the future. I want to see the past." Okay, so that was March. Then April 1st, is that when she was buried? For her funeral? Yeah, right here. Miss Ruth Hodley, daughter of Miss Jenny Hodley, died on Thursday of last week, and the funeral services were held on Sunday last at the Presbyterian Church, at which Reverend S.C. Hodge officiated, assisted by Reverend W.H. Metzer, with interment at Sunnyside Cemetery. Okay, okay, these are her siblings. Her brother and her sister. Mr. and Mrs. S.S. Breese of Wilkes-Barre and Mr. and Mrs. William Hodley of Pittston attended the funeral of Miss Ruth Hodley here on Sunday. And that's the last one, because yeah, that's it. Damn. Yeah, so 1898. So she was 18. Not the young. So hold on. That means that out of the 8 people we've looked at so far, half of them didn't make it to 30. 3 died as teenagers and 1 died at 25. And then everybody else was in their 60s or 80s. Okay. Let's... Okay. Let me change it so that it's just Pennsylvania and not just Wyoming County. Okay, there are some other ones here. Mostly from 1894 to 1895. Uh... Uh... Let me just look at this random one real quick, just to make sure this is the same Ruth. Miss Ruth Hodley starts today for Wilkes-Barre, where she will remain visiting her sister, Mrs. S.S. Brees, until school opens. Okay, yeah, so this is her. So I think most of these are going to be here visiting her family. Wait, what? Hold on, what does this say? What is this? Miss Ruth Hodley and Miss Mabel Lewis, two of our brightest young maidens, have had for some time past a resolute desire to go chestnutting, but they tip-tilted their dainty noses at Tacanic chestnuts. They weren't good enough, so Harry Kittredge gallantly came to the rescue, and we were pleased to see them one morning not long since driving gleefully away over the hill to Meshopin after chestnuts. They were gone all day, but their return was not so gleeful. When asked about their success, they simply remarked chestnuts, which meant more than it seemed, for we learned since they actually got just 3 chestnuts, one apiece. Next time, they would do well to try it near home, for Tacanic is a pretty good place after all. Wow, so they went chestnut hunting. They went chestnut hunting, or like picking, and they thought, oh, the Tacanic doesn't have good chestnuts, we'll go try this other place, and the other place was even worse. Dang. I couldn't find anything good. Okay. Okay, that's the same article. What about this one? Mary Mitchell, Miss Ruth Hodley drove to Eaton Township to spend Sunday visiting the home of Miss Jenny Wadden. Okay, so yeah, so most of these I think are just going to be her like visiting people and attending parties. That's what a lot of these are, because a lot of these are just like lists. And some of these I think are the same. Hold on, wait, let's see if maybe there's a what's it called? If there's a thing for the competition. Okay, that was in 1897. So June of 1897 is when that other contest was. Yeah, because some of these are the same articles that we've already read. Talking about, things that she's, like, church events she's taken part in and other competitions. Oh, this is the thing that they're talking about at the Presbyterian Church, but it gives a little bit more details. The entertainment which followed the supper, under the supervision of Miss Charles Graham, was one of the best ever given here, and those who were detained at home missed a rare treat. Miss Ruth Hodley, as Mrs. Almira Pease, exhibited her family album, showing her leaves and telling of their idiosyncrasies in a charming, old-fashioned manner with her knitting and her snuff box. She was perfectly at home, and the nonchalance of her manner was admirable. The first picture in the album was Miss Carrie Graham as Mrs. Hobbs, and she was indeed a perfect picture. Mr. Hobbs, who wanted to shine in the church if it didn't cost anything to shine, was Harry Kittenridge, but he didn't look one bit penurious. Mrs. Pease was as a little girl by Reba Kittenridge was most demure, and Eben, Miss Pease's husband, by Fred Wolfe, was applauded vociferously. Miss Hope Northrop, representing Miss Pease when a bride, was charming in her bridal attire, and the twins by Nora Smith and Rosa Carey were very funny. Fred Shook impersonated the parson, and most sanctimonious he looked. Parson's wife by Miss Sarah Hodley, while somewhat dressy, made a picture anyone might envy in the parson's wayward boy, who joined a circus by James Kittredge, looked actually saintly. Sister Jane by Lizzie Kittredge didn't look as if she were not to be outdone in a convention with anyone, and Robert J. Little, as her husband, was pomposity itself. Eleanor Little, as Sophia, for the honors heaped upon her as a poetess very demurely. Mary Mitchell, as Aunt Eliza, did not look as if she needed the education she was seeking so industriously, and Miss Evelyn Townsend, representing the village belle, caused an unusual flutter in many a masculine heart. Grandpa Hobbs, by Charles Swisher, while last, was not least in this extremely interesting family album. Mrs. Graham is to be congratulated upon the success of her undertaking, Miss Hodley upon her excellent memory and ability to impersonate, and all the participants for the ready way in which they represented the characters assigned them. The supper and entertainment together added $40 to the church treasury. Okay, so it was like a... Wow, this actually gives a lot of good detail about it. It was basically like a play where she was like a narrator, basically, going through this family, like this album. So I'm guessing she was like holding a book, kind of like a story time kind of thing, that had pictures of everybody as these characters, and then these characters would also be on stage doing something as she's talking about them. That's what I'm assuming this is. That's actually really cute, and I really like that. I love that we got more detail on that. And this is, I think, the same thing talking about... the champion reciter of the Titanic High School. Nellie Billings comes second. Damn, it really makes you wonder what she would have done if she would have survived. She probably would have been a great, like, performer. Let's see. May 1897. That's her just being a guest somewhere. Dang, there's still no... So yeah, there's nothing in June about the competition. So maybe it didn't happen for whatever reason. Let's see, what's this one? Ruth Hodley has returned from Elmira, where she spent several days with Miss Fanny Burgett. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these are just like repeats of saying the same thing. And this is a few... When was her birthday again? Hold on. Her birthday was February 20... Yeah, February 23rd. And when did she die? March 25th. Or March 24th. Yeah, because this is Friday's paper. And it says Thursday morning is when she died. So so just a month after turning 18. Oh yeah, and this is another thing about her Valentine's Day party. Toddley will give a Valentine's party this evening. Invitations in the shape of a heart have been sent out. That's very sweet. What's this one? On Saturday evening, Miss Ruth Hodley entertained a few friends and a flashlight picture was taken of the party. Man, if only... If only... we had that photo. That is the one thing I am a little bit disappointed in, is that I haven't been able to find for anybody, I don't think so far. I have not seen a single, like, photo of them when they were older. Which honestly is kind of crazy, especially for the people who lived, like, into, like, the 60s. I couldn't find a single... I haven't found a single photo yet of these guys for what they looked like later in their life. No school photos, no newspaper articles, marriage photos, nothing. They may be out there somewhere. Okay. Oh, oh yeah, this. Ms. Ruth Hobley has been in poor health for the past week. Yeah, this is it. About a week later. Oh, and then this is 2 days before. Miss Ruth Hodley, who has been in poor health for some time, does not seem to improve much. She is unable to attend school. Yeah, unfortunately they were right. Hold on, let me use this one instead. This one's better. Yeah. Yeah, just a few days later. Oh wait, March 20. Whoa, that same... Oh, dang. This is the same day that she died. On the same day that she died, Thursday, March 24th, the newspaper posted, "There was a little improvement in the condition of Miss Ruth Hodley yesterday afternoon." Well, unfortunately, that wasn't actually the case. I've noticed that's like a pattern in a lot of like newspapers where it's like a day or two before the person dies, there will be like a newspaper article saying like, "Oh, they're almost improving," or "There's some they have been somewhat improving," and then they die. Is this? Where is it? Here we go. Some of the people here much pain to hear the death of Miss Ruth Hodley of Tacanic, a sweet girl of 17 who died unexpectedly of blood poisoning. Okay, we know she wasn't 17. She was 18. What is this one? This doesn't look like an obituary. Oh, okay. A committee consisting of Victor Avery, Henry Kittredge, Miss Mabel Lewis, Miss Bertha Gardiner, and Miss Keithline was appointed by the high school to circulate a subscription paper among the students for the purpose of securing flowers for the funeral of Miss Ruth Hodley, which will take place tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock from the Presbyterian Church. The committee met with great success. Well, so they all try to get flowers for her. Oh, is this like a follow-up? The high school raised a considerable amount of money last week with which to purchase flowers for the funeral of Miss Ruth Hodley. On Friday night, the plans were changed, and instead they decided to have one of her pictures enlarged for her mother. This met with Miss Hodley's approval. Aww. So instead of doing flowers, they decided to get her a photo. Honestly, I think that's better, because it's going to last. You know, they say take a picture, it'll last longer. In this case, yes, this definitely will last longer than flowers. And this is all people attend, like talking about people coming to the town to attend her funeral. Okay. I think. Oh wait, hold on, wait. There's one other county that has some stuff. I don't know if it's gonna be most of the same stuff. Oh, okay. This is 1893. This might be the oldest one that we've seen so far. We have good little people up here, and they both belong to the Presbyterian Sunday School. Ruth Hodley is the daughter of Miss Jenny Hodley of Putnam Street, and the little lady has a record of 9 years attendance at the Sunday School with only one Sunday's absence. Fred Shook, son of our townsman Benjamin H. Shook, has a record of 8 years attendance at the same Sunday School and not a single Sunday's absence. Now, these little folks are as full of life, fun, and play as in the town, notwithstanding the idea one might get from their records that they were sedate, sad, and grave. Let's hear from some other people who have done as well. Wow, so over the course of 9 years, she has only missed Sunday school once. That's crazy. So she was very involved with her church then. She was I mean, we already kind of knew that from some of the other articles that we read, but I think this really shows it. And then this is, yeah. This is another thing talking about her visiting. Sarah Hodley is visiting at Greenridge, Scranton, and her sister, Miss Ruth Hodley, is visiting. Yeah, Reverend J.H. Brown at Strauss. Yeah, so that's the same one that we already had. Yeah. December of 1894. In our report of the Christmas exercises, the names of Mrs. Sarah and Ruth Hodley were omitted. Each had a share in it and were entitled to the honors. Oh, wow, they got skipped. They got left out of the record. At least they corrected it. Her just visiting somebody. Miss Helen, the daughter of George Orr, Esquire, gave an evening party. Okay, yeah, this is her just attending a party. But, hold on, I do recognize some names. I recognize a couple names. Yeah, Ruth, Leslie Chase, Mary Baldwin, Blanche Dietrich, Bessie Lighton, Harry Lewis. Wow, wait, yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 people in this photo were also at this party. This is another thing about her Sunday school. At the Presbyterian Church, Miss Ruth Holiday has a record of attendance covering 10 years without a Sunday missed at Sunday school, and one Sunday only has been missed by her in 11 years. Wow. That is crazy. So she kept up her record. That means, okay, she's 15 at this point. That means she'd been going since she's like 4. So she only missed one class when she was 4. And then since then, she has been there for every Sunday, which means I guess she never took any longer than a week vacation anywhere. Let's see. Oh, okay, this is about the speaking contest again. Yeah. First prize given to Ruth Hodley. Yeah, that's the same when she won already. Oh. Oh wait, no, this is 1897, so it's different, right? Yeah, this is another thing where she was reciting. Yeah, is there anything here for the results? Oh wait, no wait, it was 1897 because 1898 is when she died. Hold on. Yeah, so wait, so that was... Yeah, so this is it. Closing exercise of the high school took place at Opera House Wednesday night, and there was goodly attendance. Professor Oliver J. Morlock, the principal, presided, and under his guidance, quite an elaborate program was carried out. Among the numbers not on the program were selections by the Banjo Club. Patrick Boyce gave also the charge of the 600. After the rendition of the program, the students were given their reports and notified to their standing at the coming school year. Following is the program. Yeah, so I guess it wasn't a competition. Because this is it. I guess I guess it wasn't a competition, so they just read stuff. Okay, cool, I guess. And then yeah, because then after that, now we're getting into her being sick and her death. Again, I just want to see if there's anything more here than what we've already seen. Demise of Miss Mary O'Malley of Scranton, death at Titanic from blood poisoning. Here we go. Miss Hodley, Miss Ruth Hodley, youngest daughter of Miss Jenny Hodley, died at the house. A tooth drawn some time ago, and a piece of the tooth remained attached to the jaw. Oh, God. Wait, hold on. Wait, is this the same? Hold on. This is the same article. Yeah, this is the same article. Okay. At about 8 o'clock, Miss Hodley had a tooth drawn some little time ago, and a piece of the tooth remained attached to the jaw, ulcerating and sloughing off. Oh, God. Finally terminating in blood poisoning. She was one of the leading young ladies in the graduating class of the high school and excelled in elocution and in scholarship generally. She was but 18 years of age, a member of the Presbyterian Church, and an earnest, conscientious young woman. Deceased had a number of relatives in this city. Dang. Yeah, God, if she had lived, she probably would have been a great speaker. This is the same one. Yeah, this is the same article. Just repeating. The funeral of Miss Ruth Holiday will take place from the church instead of the house on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. The attendance was so large that the house could not accommodate the people. Oh, that's so nice to hear, actually. It's sad, but also sweet. The fact that they had to move it to the church because too many people wanted to attend. Wow. Okay. Okay, so that's the counties we have for her. Let me do this again. Hold on, for just in case. 1890. Still nothing. Okay. Okay, the next thing I want to look at, because I think this pretty much covers her on a decent amount. I don't think we're going to get anything else in terms of historical documents out of her. Unless Titanic High School has, like, yearbooks. Hold on. Let's see. So Satanic High School does exist, but their yearbooks that I see here only go back to the 60s. Hold on. Let's look on here. We've looked here before. I just want to see real quick. Do they have scrapbooks, newspaper articles, newspaper abstracts, scrapbook abstracts, family vertical files, vital records, death, naturalization, orphans court, Lucerne County Orphans Court, Orphans Court, estate settlements. Okay. Future tombstone records. Undertaker records. Microfilm collection. Tax records, Lucerne County. Library room, genealogies, general books, county histories, state histories. Yeah, I don't see anything here. I don't see anything about yearbooks. And honestly, even if they do have yearbooks, it's likely that they don't even go back this far. Because the average person in this photo would be graduating before the year 1900. And I feel like only colleges, like big popular colleges at this time, were the only ones doing yearbooks at this time. So I think, yeah, I think even if they did have yearbooks, it's probably not going to have it for the years that the people in this photo would be in school. Okay. Now, next thing is I want to know what happened to Rufe's father. Because we know, according to this, that he was a stonemason by trade, and he was engaged in drilling for silver at Leadville, Colorado, where he died on October 18th, 1879. So, first thing I want to do is I want to see, where is Leadville? Is it like is it one of those that's like a middle of nowhere ghost town, Colorado, or is it now like a actual like proper city, like a suburb of like Denver or something? So let's see. Let me pull up Google Maps real quick. Okay. Leadville, Colorado. Here it is. And it is, yeah, it's middle of nowhere. Wow, middle of the Rocky Mountains. Look at that. Because that's Denver here. It is, yeah, like smack dab in the middle. Wow. National Mining Hall of Fame and Museum. Wow. It's probably like the big city for the area. I mean, it looks like it, just for, you know. Like just back in the day, this was, ooh, I love the neon. I love the neon signs that a lot of these places have. The old, wow, this is actually a very cool and pretty downtown. I really like this. Okay. So this is where he was, but I want to figure out, when did he move here? When did he move here? And I mean, I don't know. I guess Y is kind of just like, oh, he wanted to, you know, he wanted to strike it rich, probably. Hold on, let's look at Mary's records here real quick, because we have 1860. Yeah, okay, let's look at 1860. I don't know if they'd be married yet. No. But she's from Tacanic. She is from Tacanic. And her father... Oh wow, this is so hard to read. I don't think that is farmer. Did that say clergyman? Or grocery man? God, that's so hard to read. It's so bad. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, did I... There you go, okay. That's before they got married, and I don't see death certificate, death certificate, death certificate. So, okay. Let's look at his record. Whoops, nope, that's her father. That's not his record. Thomas. Because... Is that his death certificate? No, because it's not between 1906 and 1890. Yeah, these aren't his death certificates. Okay, and by 1870, he was also living in Tacanic. Sarah Hodley, Thomas Hodley, laborer. 21. Civil War draft registrations. I don't see anything else for that. Okay, yeah, so I think the only way we're going to learn about what happened to him is hopefully there's something in the newspapers about him. So Thomas Hodley. So Thomas Hodley. I'm just curious. Okay, there are some things here, but actually, hold on, let's go further back. Let's go back to 18... Let's go to 1876 to 18... 79. Okay. This looks like a court record. Oh, this is him. Okay, this is just asking him to be a juror. And they have to put that, and so that's going to be a ton of these because that they have to put all of them in here because of that. Okay, what's this? 1977. At a meeting of the stockholders of the Bridge Company Monday afternoon, the officers last year were re-elected. President William Pyatt, Secretary Harvey Sickler, Neil Stark, Directors Chauncey Benson, Dr. D.C. Dana, John Day, Harvey Sickler. Mrs. Thomas Hodley is retained as toll collector. Whoa, look at that. She was working as the toll collector for the bridge. Wow, look at that. Thomas Hodley exhibited some mammoth squashes, some of them weighing 100 pounds or more. Wow. Okay, so he was apparently he was also a good farmer too. If he made 100, he was like those people who make like giant like pumpkins and stuff and like bring them to like the state and county fairs. Whew, that is crazy. Okay, this is March 1878. Thomas Hodley has moved from the bridge toll house, and Miss Sally Ann Whipple is now the toll gatherer. Mr. Hodley occupies the Esquire Hine property on Putnam Street. Oh yeah, where's Putnam Street? Hold on. I can just... I've done it so many times now that I can just, like, zoom in. Where's Putnam Street? Oh, there's Putnam. Okay. So they lived on this street, but... Yeah, there's not really any... Yeah, there's not really much here to, like, really go off of, like, what is the... what is that house? Okay. So he was so before he went out there, he worked on the bridge toll. So yeah, so when did he go out there? Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Thomas Hodley, street commissioner of the borough, has secured a situation under Messrs. Henry and Whipple at Leadville, Colorado at $3.50 per day. He leaves for that place on Monday. This will create a vacancy in the position of street commissioner and in judge of election. Mr. Hodley is a Republican, and this is a Democratic borough, but his popularity elected him judge of election, which speaks well for him. But the majority inspector, Mr. Joseph Degnan, is a Democrat and will, of course, appoint one of his own political complexion as successor to Mr. Hodley. But hold on, all of the Titanic boys will be home before the leaves fall in autumn. Okay. So he was street commissioner. That's why he probably lived in the toll house. He was in charge of like the roads and stuff, and also a judge position, judge of election. So he helped, like, I guess, just like ensure like good collections. Also, I just realized, yeah, this is actually all of Pennsylvania. It's not just Wyoming County. I think this is a similar message. Thomas Hardley and Charles Harding left this place for Leadville, the the El Dorado of Colorado on Sunday night last. We hope they may realize their fondest expectations. If industry and frugality will do it, we have no doubt of their success. Wow, so he left his left his family to go strike it rich. At $3.50 a day. Which in 1879 is probably decent money. Wait, so that's May 21st, May 23rd. Mr. Oh no, did they wait? Mrs. Thomas Hodley and Charles Harding of Taconic, who have been suffering from an attack of the Western fever for some time, started for Leadville, Colorado. Oh no, that okay, that it's not an actual fever, it's a metaphor. Western fever. They have desire to go out west. Wow, and he died just a few months later. Hold on, but what is this? This is like a weird. Mrs. Charles J. Henry has arrived at Colorado Springs and in a letter of recent date expresses her delight in the scenery, climate, etc. The trip out was especially enjoyable and one to be long remembered with pleasant thoughts. Mrs. Henry has many friends in this place who will be pleased to hear of the result of the trip. Charles J. is still at Leadville, where he is engaged with Lewis Whipple as contractors and builders. It is also reported that they are doing a prosperous business. Ex-Street Commissioner Thomas Hunley is in the employment of the above firm. Okay, so he's building. Okay, so he's not necessarily doing like mining stuff. He's helping build roads. It sounds like. Helping build like infrastructure, probably it might be infrastructure for the mines, but it's still infrastructure. Yeah, and this is okay, so October of 1879. What happened? Mr. John F. Sickler received a dispatch on Monday morning from C.J. Henry of Leadville, Colorado, announcing the sad intelligence of the death at the place of Saturday last of Thomas J. Hodley, who left here sometime last spring. The deceased was well known and universally liked in this community, and his bereaved wife and children have the heartfelt sympathy of all our people in this, their great loss. Damn. Okay, but what happened? Maybe a later one will say it? Wait, hold on. This is a few days later. Let's see what this one says. Okay, let's see what this says. Death of T.J. Hodley. Telegraphic announcement of the death of Thomas J. Hodley in Leadville, Colorado on Saturday last caused sincere sorrow to a large number of Taconic people. Mr. Hodley went to Leadville last spring in hopes of bettering his fortunes and seemed to have good prospects of success when he was stricken with mountain fever, a relapse of which included after partial recovery took a form of typhoid and proved fatal. Okay, so it was disease. He was taken to the residence of Mr. C.J. Henry, also from Taconic, and tenderly cared for during his illness. The Order of Oddfellows, of which he was a member, took him in charge and gave him the closest attention. Mr. Henry is writing of their devotion to him, to their stranger brother, though not himself of their number, speaks in the highest terms of God, or in the highest terms of praise, and warmly ejaculates, "God bless the order. The death of Mr. Hodley is, under the circumstances, peculiarly sad, and his bereaved wife and children have the hearty sympathy of the community. The deceased was one of those few men who, while not passive nor shallow-minded, still enjoyed the respect and friendship of all." Dang, yeah. So only a few months, less like 6 months after he left. Less than 6 months. Or no, about 6 months, yeah. 7 months. He got typhoid, basically. Jeez, that sucks. I mean, at least it wasn't like a mining accident or something like that. That was my initial thought. I genuinely thought it was going to be like some crazy mining accident, but it wasn't, thankfully. Okay, what is this? Here we go. Rights of respect. The following, clipped from a Leedsville paper, has been handed us for republication to show to the friends of the late Mr. Hodley that though he died a stranger in a strange land, he was not obscurely buried. At 10 o'clock this morning, Chloride Lodge number 331 IOF turned out in a body to attend the funeral of Brother Thomas I. Hodley, recently deceased. A long cottage followed the remains to the cemetery, or cordage, sorry. A long cordage followed the remains of the cemetery where, with the solemn and impressive services of the order, the coffin was consigned to its last resting place. So that actually matches with what we see here, because this is his grave, and his grave has this symbol on it, which according to this is a part of the Independent Order of the Odd Fellows, IOOF. So that matches. That's what that, yeah. So they buried him there because I guess they probably couldn't. They couldn't get his body out. Okay, this is another Oddfellows. Whereas Brother Thomas I. Hodley, a member of this lodge, died at Leadville, Colorado on the 18th day of October 1879 under circumstances peculiarly sad, and whereas it is proper that we tender to the widow and fatherless in their affliction such consolation as human sympathy affords, and to those who cared for Brother Hodley during his last sickness, such thanks as their actions caused them to deserve, therefore be it. Resolved that in the death of Brother Thomas I. Hodley, this lodge has lost a faithful and honored member, and we a good and true brother, that the sympathies of this lodge are hereby extended to the widow and the family and friends of Brother Hodley in this time and their affliction. Resolved that our gratitude is hereby tendered to the officers and brothers of Chloride Lodge number 31 IO of OOF, Colorado, who so nobly illustrated the principles and teachings of our order by their unselfish devotion and attention to our sick and distressed brother, and by so appropriately performing the last sad offices at his interment. Resolved that our thanks are also due to our former fellow townsman Charles J. Henry, who, though not a member of our order, so faithfully illustrated its great principle, the brotherhood of man, and so generously practiced its teachings by relieving the pain and distress of our departed brothers as far as it was in his power to do so. Resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by mail to Chloride Lodge number 31 at Leadville, Colorado, and a copy to Charles J. Henry at Leadville, Colorado. Wow, okay, yeah, so he was deep in the order. I haven't seen anything like this for somebody who's died in the Oddfellows before. We've had people who have been part of these. Maybe it wasn't Oddfellows. Maybe that's why. I mean, there's like the Templars, there's Elks Lodge, there's like other fraternal organizations that these people, back then were a part of. So maybe I'm thinking of those. Okay, hold on. What were the ones from 1880 that we saw? What's this one? Miss Jenny M. Hodley, widow of the late Thomas J. Hodley, received 1 day last week from Washington Life Insurance Company the amount of $1,053.68, for which the prudent husband has insured his life. We understand that he had another policy also in the Oddfellows Insurance Company at Montrose. Dang, that's a decent amount of money for back then. This is a week later. Is this the same thing or is this a different thing? Henry Harding, Esquire, guardian of H. Elizabeth Hodley, minor child of Thomas J. Hodley, deceased last Wednesday, received from the Oddfellows Mutual Insurance Company of Montrose $1,016, the amount of the insurance which had been effected on his life of the father in favor of his daughter. Dang. So didn't even just for that daughter. Wow, $1,000 for back then. Again, that is a lot of money for this time period. I'm curious what this is. Jenny M. Hot. Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, what is... Hold on, did something happen after... What is this? Judge Ingham's last card. Another of his campaign lies nailed. The Hodley Circular. Kept until the last moment with a view of palming it off on an unsuspecting public when too late for contradiction. Dastardly work discovered by Mr. Sitter's friends by accident. A sad spectacle indeed for a judge of our courts. Wait, is there like some sort of like... Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Is there some sort of like corrupt judge thing with like his... when like executing like his will or something? Okay, hold on. One day this week, it was ascertained that the managers of Judge Ingham's canvas here were distributing a circular against John A. Sitter containing the following affidavit and statement. So this is like an election thing? Wyoming County SS. Mrs. Jenny Hodley of Tacanic, Wyoming County, PA, maketh oath and saith that she is the widow of Thomas Hodley, who died in Colorado in 1879. And she is the mother of 5 children, all living, the oldest being at the time of his death about 13 years of age, and the youngest still unborn. That's Ruth. That John A. Sitzer was owing to my husband $134.35, which he refused and still refuses to pay by reason of the statute of limitations. The death of her husband left the deponent without funds and in needy circumstances, and that she asked of said John A. Sitter a car load of coal in payment on above mentioned bill, and he flatly refused to furnish coal or money, while the deponent was nearly without fuel to keep her and her children warm, and without means whereby it could be furnished. Jenny M. Hodley, sworn and subscribed before me this 23rd day of September, AD 1884. Whoa, wait. Okay, so this is a thing against John Sitzer, basically saying that he would not pay money that he owed Thomas to Jenny because he was dead, and because of that, couldn't keep her. She even asked for coal because she just wanted to keep her children warm, and she couldn't. So that's what they said. That the claim is valid has been practically acknowledged by offers of settlement at about 50 cents on the dollar, made since the nomination of Mr. Sitzer on the condition that I would not inform anyone of Mr. Sitzer's action in the matter. They also wished me to sign a writing stating that I was mistaken and that it was F.L. Sitzer instead of John A. Sitzer who owed me. I refused such terms indignantly as I could not consciously accept money thus tendered partly as hush money, and had it not been for the kindness and charity extended to me by the Society of Oddfellows, of which my husband was a member, myself and my family would have suffered for the necessaries of life. Okay, Jenny Hodley. Dang. Okay, so they weren't as, I guess, maybe well off as I thought they were. That the people may fully understand this matter, we give the following facts which the persons handling the aforesaid circular are careful to conceal. In 1866, 18 years ago, F.L. Sitzer and C.D. Geralt made a contract to deliver to Paxton and Harmon at Rupert a certain quantity of baled hay. Thomas Hodley was engaged by F.L. Sitzer to take a boatload by canal to Rupert. He let the water leak into the boat and wet the lower tier of bales. Paxton and Harmon refused to pay full price for the damaged hay and made a deduction from the stipulated prices. John A. Sitzer had nothing to do with it. In settling with Mr. Hodley's, a deduction was made from his charges for freight on account of the damage which resulted from his negligence. The matter was settled with him at the time by F.L. Sitzer. He made no complaint at the time and never spoke about it until 13 years had elapsed. When about starting for Colorado in 1879, Mr. Hodley went to John A. Sitzer and broached the subject. Mr. Sitzer was very much surprised and asked him why he had never mentioned it in all of the 13 years that had passed and why he did not speak about it at the time of the settlement, stating that it seemed very strange that he would wait so long if he really had a valid claim. Mr. Hodley was then informed by Mr. Sitzer that as he, Hodley, had done the business with F.L. Sitzer and C.D. Geralt, he must go to them with his claim. They declined to pay him anything for the reason that they owed him nothing. Their affidavit, hereunto appended, will give their version of the affair. This is all the connection that John A. Sitzer had with the matter. He has never refused to pay it by reason of statute of limitations, and that allegation is utterly false. He has lived here all these years since the transaction, and if the claim had been valid one, it could have been collected from him or the other gentleman. John A. Sitzer has never offered or authorized any person to offer for him any amount whatever to Miss Hodley, and he has not endeavored to secure any such writing as in described in the circular. We make these statements authoritatively. Such are the facts surrounding this matter. Now notice some things which show it in its true light. Thomas Hodley makes a settlement which rests undisturbed for 13 years. After being told that there is nothing due him, it sleeps for 5 years more, and is only resurrected after John A. Sitzer receives the judicial nomination. On the 23rd of September, more than 5 weeks ago, Mrs. Hodley makes her affidavit. Is it published then? No. It is held until the last week before election, when it is thought Mr. Sitzer cannot have time to answer it, and then sent out in circular form. If the allegation were true, why not publish then in the papers? And why were they not published when the affidavit was made? There was then plenty of time for a discussion of the matter. But the politicians who are at the bottom of this movement knew it would not bear a public discussion. They knew it could only hurt Mr. Sitzer, if at all, by being used privately against him at so late an hour in the campaign that he could not contradict it. Therefore, they adopt this highly dishonorable method of political warfare. It is only by accident that Mr. Sitzer's friends got wind of the circular. It was to be kept so quiet that it would not be heard of until after the Democrat was published. Now, voters, fair-minded people, what do you think of this action? Should a man be elected judge of the courts who will stoop to such a trick against his opponent? It is for you to answer, and it rests with the people of Wyoming, especially to rebuke all such attacks on so honorable man as John A. Sitzer. This Hoadley circular is one last card. Beware of others. Wow. Okay, so this is basically saying that they're basically saying that they're lying and that they're trying to spin this in a way to make it look like he's not paying a family out of, spite or just because he's a horrible person, but it turns out that's not the case. According to him, it's not the case. This is their side of the story, which is true in politics like this during this time. Who knows? Genuinely, who knows in this case which is true and which is not true. Wyoming County SS. C.D. Gerhardt, being duly sworn, says in 1866 he and F.L. Sitter formed a co-partnership for the purpose of dealing in hay, that they engaged Thomas Hoadley in that year to boat a quantity of baled hay to Rupert, Pennsylvania, that after the hay was shipped, deponent went to Rupert and was shown the hay by Mr. Harmon to the firm of Paxton and Harmon, to whom it was consigned. That some of the bales were damaged by water, and in consequence, deponent's firm had to accept a reduced price therefore. That on Hoadley's return, a settlement was effected with him, and no complaint was then made by said Hoadley. That no demand has been made on deponent for anything further than has paid Mr. Hoadley at the settlement, and that deponent believed the whole matter was satisfactorily arranged, and John A. Sitzer was not a member of said co-partnership to my knowledge. Okay. State of Pennsylvania, Wyoming County. On the 28th day of October, AD 1884, personally came before me F.L. Sitzer, who, being duly sworn, said that during the year 1866, being 18 years ago, he was a member of a co-partnership consisting solely of himself and C.D. Gerhardt, and during the year aforesaid, the firm engaged one Thomas Hoadley to take part in. Okay, so they're basically just describing the same thing again. Whoops. Hold on. Accidentally. Shoot. Here we go. Yeah, and this is talking about the hay. But he's basically saying the same thing. That this is what happened. Yeah, not a member. Co-partnership, to my knowledge. Yeah, sworn in front of a notary public. Later, since the above was in type, we have learned that the signatures of some 12 or 15 persons to a certificate of the good character of Mrs. Hoadley, which is placed at the bottom of the circular, were procured by the pretense that her name was called in question, and on a paper separate and distinct from the balance of the circular. While we have not had time to see all the signatures, we have talked with a number of them who have willingly signed the following statement. Oh, dang, people coming out and, saying that they were tricked, basically, into signing that. This is crazy. We whose names are printed on a circular issued against John A. Sitzer and signed by Jenny Hodley hereby certified that our signatures were procured to substantiate her good character and for that purpose only, and we do not want it understood that we vouch for the allegations contained in said circular. Dang, okay. Wow. So they're basically saying that they thought it was for like, just to like show the like to promote the character of Jenny, not necessarily to promote that what was she said was true or the allegations in it. Wow. She dang, she's just okay, so that's the end of that article. Wow. That is crazy. And again, like who knows, maybe she was coerced into doing this and she doesn't even know to the extent what it's being used for. Because it was being, like they were saying, it was being printed in secret. Hold on. Was there anything else? I thought there was maybe one more thing. Two more things. Okay, there's one more thing here. Mr. Thomas Hodley was before his death a prominent member of the Oddfellows Lodge here. The lodge kindly remembered his widow one day last week by providing her with a carload of coal. Okay. So the Oddfellows are helping her out since he passed away. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, one last thing I want to check. I want to see if there's anything for him in Colorado. Because he died 1889. Where was Leadville? Lake County, Colorado. Okay. Lake County. Oh. Hold on. Well, okay, what if I just put Colorado? I'll just put Colorado. Okay, nothing for this time period. Let's do 18... It was 1879 when he was there. Oh, wow, nothing. What about T... What was it, TI? Or was it TJ? Nothing. What if just the last name Hotley? Wow. Okay, hold on. Let's do 1878 to 1880. Oops. No, that says Judge Hodley of Ohio. So that's an article talking about something else that isn't in Colorado. Wow, okay, so there's nothing for him in Colorado. I'm surprised. Okay, wow. Again, I thought this was going to be a shorter a shorter experience, but again, proven wrong in the fact that there was enough craziness that happened in her, not in just her life. I mean, like, considering we didn't have any like other like like that many physical records, we did have a lot of good newspaper records for her, despite the fact that she only died at 18. So okay, actually, hold on. Let's go ahead and let's start filling this out. So we know she was born February 23rd, 1880. Right? Just want to double check that. Yeah, February 23rd. Born in Tacanic and lived in Tacanic Her father was Thomas Hodley. And her mother was Mary Jenny Mitchell. Two L's? Yes, okay. So Mary Jenny Mitchell. At the time of the photo, she would have been 8 years old. She lived in Taconic. Never married because she only lived to be 18. Never had a job. Yeah, so she was 18. She died in Taconic. Yeah. Sunnyside Cemetery. And then grave missing. And then her death date, we know... March 24th, 1898. Okay. And then, okay, yeah. And then we'll put in here, father died before she was born in Leedsville, Colorado. And then won first place in I'll just call it a public speaking. I'll put high school. Yeah, she was a very, according to like everything we saw, she was a very good just speaker overall. But yeah, I think that's really all we have on her, because wow, it is crazy how many, only of the 8 people that we've done so far, only 3 of them ever got married and had kids. That's honestly probably why this photo, I mean, because, you know, like nobody knows who the people are in the photo, who the names are, that they just got forgotten. Wow. Hold on, I'm going to make the notes section a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh yeah, and I'll also put died from blood poison after removing tooth. God, that just sounds like a terrible way to go, to get an infection in your mouth. You basically probably can't like eat or chew or do anything. Or talk, like breathing probably even hurts. God, that just sounds like an awful way to go, unfortunately. Oh yeah, and she was also like a good like performer as well, according to this. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to call it for tonight. This has been an interesting one. I just hope Man, I just hope the next person we research actually lives to be an adult. Because that's 2 in a row. Or they died as teenagers. Let's hope our next person, Helen Lewis, which actually, I think I know that she lives to be an adult because we saw some stuff with her when, we were looking up her brother, Harry. And Helen also is in the photo. Hold on, if I pull it up here real quick. Actually, no, wait, let me go ahead. Let's go ahead and go back to the... Hold on, you're going to get creepy photo jump scare. Boo. All right, so right here, she's number 9. She's clearly older than everybody else in this photo. Like, she looks like she's a teenager, at least. Number 9 there, the tall one in the back. All right. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing on Sunday. We'll be researching number 9 in this photograph. Wow, we're over a quarter of the way, or almost a third. No, we're over a third. Yeah, actually, no, wait. Today, yeah, we're a third of the way through. We're 8 people in, a third of the way through this project, which is crazy. Really is crazy. All right. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today, folks. Hold on, let me put away the the terrifying photo. All right, to make myself a little bit bigger here. Swoop. All right, so yeah, that's gonna do it for today, folks. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you had a great time. If you're new here, I am not a professor, but you can call me Nap. I do these streams officially every Wednesday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we research stuff like this. We do genealogy and history research. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go ahead and follow. Also, link down below. I do have my YouTube channel where I am uploading shorts on some of the stuff that we find on these streams. So let's see. I don't think I'll have, and also, yeah, I will probably also be streaming on some point this weekend, probably doing some Stardew Valley. Let's see. And with that, if you guys could stick around, we're going to go ahead and raid somebody. If you could stick around for the raid, that would be great. Ooh, okay, who should we raid? Who should we raid? Okay. Let's go ahead. It's been a little bit. Let's go ahead and raid. Let's raid this guy. This is Damien Verdi. He's a paleontologist, VTuber and streamer, and he's doing a Lego building stream. He's building, I think. Actually, I don't know what it is he's building, but it looks really cool. I've thought about doing Lego building on stream sometime. I think that'd be fun. All right, so let's go ahead and raid him. All right. Let me go ahead and get that for subscribers, and then one for followers. All right. All right, but yeah, that's gonna do it for today, folks. Thank you guys so much for being here. I had a great time today. We found again. I thought it was gonna be a shorter one because that's kind of what I expect when the person unfortunately doesn't live that long. But in this case, we actually found some interesting stuff, and there was more about them than I thought there would be. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for today. I'll see you definitely on Sunday and maybe Saturday or Friday. Who knows? And we'll go back to the cozy farm and play some Stardew Valley. All right. But yeah, have a good night or day, everyone. Uh, have a good night. Take care. See you next time.